Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this beautiful Tidepool wrap. This is an easy to crochet wrap that is worked in a simple V-stitch. I've finished it off with a very easy little edge at the top, and we have a bead detailing that's totally optional, but I'll show you how to put these beads on as well. It is not a very huge wrap. It's on the narrower side, so it just kind of goes around the tops of your shoulders and is perfect if you just need a little something. And it is cotton, so it's great for the warmer months when you have in the evenings, or if you're in chilly air conditioning and you just need a little something. And obviously you can make this as big as you want and just keep working more and more rows if you'd like it to be larger. But this is a really simple wrap to work up. The finished wrap measures about 10 inches tall, and then along this top edge, the part where you would wrap it around your shoulders, it is about 90 inches across the top edge. Now we have, if you notice, this is on an angle. So we start at the bottom with a flat edge and work upward. So it's like a trapezoid shape, kind of an upside down triangle with that bottom point cut off, so to speak. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a 9mm crochet hook, some beads, any beads you like, and your yarn. I'm going to be using 3 skeins of Billow by Knit Picks. I will be using 1 skein of Whisker, it's like a light soft gray, 1 skein of white, and 1 skein of conch, like the conch shell. It's like a soft coral color. Now if you want to substitute yarn, just look for yarn that recommends a 9mm hook or even an 8mm hook, either one. And this shawl that we'll be making will grow upward and outward. So if you want your shawl to be bigger, you can just work more rows. It'll just grow out. It's a kind of like a trapezoid shape. Now each one of these skeins is 120 yards, so I'll be using 3 of them. So if you want to substitute yarn, just look for a similar yardage and a similar yarn weight. This is 100% cotton. You can really use any fiber you like. This is going to be like a cottony, kind of chunky shawl. Okay, so to begin we need to do a starting chain of 90. I wanted to mention at the beginning of this video I showed the yarn in skeins. I have gone ahead and wound this into a yarn cake. You can wind yours by hand, but if yours comes in a skein you'll need to rewind it into a ball, just as a side note. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have our center pull here, and we're going to put a slip knot on our hook to begin. So to begin, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up the loop, and tighten. Now, like I mentioned before, we need to do a starting chain of 90. So to make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 89, and 90. Then what we want to do is, well, here's our starting chain. You want to make your starting chain fairly loosely so it won't draw the bottom of your shawl up too tightly. If you're having trouble, just go up a hook size for your starting chain only, then go back to the 9mm for the rest of your project. Okay, so for row 1, what we're going to do is count the 4th chain from the hook. So this loop here on your hook does not count. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this chain here, we're going to work a chain 1, and then into that chain we're going to work a double crochet. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the chain, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops on your hook. Next, we're going to skip 1 chain, and in the next chain we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. That'll create a V for our V stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, all in that same chain. Okay, you can see we have our first little V there. Skip the next chain, do the same thing in the next chain. Double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip the next chain, in the next chain work a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Okay, we have some V's that we're establishing here. Let's get a little more yarn. So we're just going to be doing this all the way across. Skip the next chain, work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next chain. So that was double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip the next chain, in the chain after that, work a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip the next chain, in the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Whoops, let's redo that one. Okay, there we go. Let's get some more yarn. There we go. Okay. And that double crochet. Skip the next chain, in the chain after that, work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that, do the same thing, double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip the next chain, in the chain after that, do the same thing, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next chain, in the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that. So you can see we're establishing a sequence here. This is a very easy to stitch up pattern. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Get some more yarn here. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that, we're going to do the same thing, double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next chain, the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, we're about halfway through. So we're going to keep doing the same thing all the way across. Okay, we're going to keep going across here. Skip the next chain, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet on that chain, same chain. Get some more yarn. Skip the next chain, do the same thing. We're establishing the foundation for our V's that we're going to be building onto in the next row. Whoops. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. I'm going to keep working across here. We're going to keep doing the same thing all the way across, and then when we get towards the end of the row, I'm going to show you how to finish off the row, and we're going to transition onto row 2. So let's look at what we have so far. We have some V's going. We're going to keep going with our V's all the way across. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end of the row here. So we just have 2 chains left. We're going to skip that next chain, and in the very last chain, work the same thing. Double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Just like that. So row 1 is complete. So what we're going to do is start on row 2. Now our shawl is shaped like a trapezoid, so it's going to be flat along the bottom and work its way outward and upward. Okay, so because we worked a V in that last chain and not just one double crochet, it's going to start expanding. Okay, so to move on to row 2, we're going to stick with the same color. Now once we get to a spot where we're going to switch colors, I'll show you how to do that too, but we're going to stick with the same color for this row. So what we're going to do is chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then turn our work. Okay, so we're going to work a V into each V of the row. Okay, so this first V that we come to, we're going to work a V into that V, so the V's will be stacked. Okay, so right here we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So everywhere you see a V, just work another V into it. Right into this space. We're not even worrying about working into the stitches for this pattern. Just working right into that chain 1 space from the previous row. So work a V into this next V, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Next V, double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Next V, double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. So I'm going to keep working V's in each V all the way across, and then when we get towards the end of this row too, we will pick back up again, and I'll show you how to finish that off, and then we'll move on to doing a color change. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end of row 2. Now, row 2 is the row you'll be repeating for the whole rest of the pattern. So we'll just be repeating row 2 over and over and over until your shawl is as tall as you would like it to be. Now at the end here, we had our turning chain. In the turning chain space, it creates sort of a V at the end here. We're going to work a V right into that turning chain space. So work a double crochet. Whoops, let me get my yarn situated. Okay, so work a double crochet, chain 1, my yarn fuzzies are sticking to me. Okay, so double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Okay, and then row 2 is complete. Now let's look at our work. Now, like I mentioned a few seconds ago, you'll be repeating row 2 over and over and over until your shawl is as tall as you would like it to be. Now the bottom will be flat along the bottom, but it'll be narrower and it'll expand, and that makes a really nice shape to wrap around the shoulders. The next thing we're going to do, even though we're repeating row 2 over and over and over, and you know how to complete the rest of the pattern, I want to quickly show you how to change colors. I get that question a lot, so I'm going to show you really quick how to go from this coral to our next color of our stripe sequence. Now you can work more rows if you want wider stripes. I'm going to stick to a 2-row stripe pattern. Okay, so I went ahead and grabbed the gray. So what we're going to do is simply snip this yarn. Now you can weave this in as you go along. It's totally up to you. Sometimes with these more open, kind of lacy patterns, I like to weave my ends in myself instead of, it just makes it a little easier. Totally up to you, whatever you'd like to do. So we just cut the yarn, we're going to fasten off, just like that. Okay, I went ahead and grabbed the gray. We can put this coral aside for now. And these colors are so pretty together. So again, I wove this into a yarn cake as well, so it'll be easy to work with. And the yarn cake, as a side note, is flat on the bottom, so it doesn't roll around either. Okay, so we're going to get our new yarn, and then this last stitch, see this topmost loop all the way at the top left corner? Insert your hook into that loop. Bring the new yarn through, and then we're just going to tie it right on. Okay, so once it's tied onto that leftmost stitch there, we're just going to reach into the center of the V, bring up a loop, and then you're ready to begin working, you know, repeating row 2 over and over and over with the new color, okay? So you'll just do your chain 3, turn your work, and then you're ready to, you can kind of straighten these out if you need to, and then you're ready to work on the rest of your row. So that's how you change colors, pretty simple. Now, if you have a different way of changing colors for projects, feel free to definitely do that. I like to just snip the yarn and tie it right on. That's how I like to do it. But if you have a different method, definitely feel free to do that as well. So I'm going to keep working on my shawl here, and I'm going to get a bunch more rows put in, and then we'll rejoin towards the end, and I'm going to show you how to finish your project. So just keep going, working row 2 over and over and over in any stripe sequence that you like. You can make your stripes thicker or thinner. You can make your project solid. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to keep going with my project, and then we'll rejoin towards the end of the project. I'm going to show you how to finish it, how to weave the ends in, and then also how to add the really pretty, totally optional beadwork at the either end of our shawl. Okay, so just keep going and we'll rejoin in just a bit. Okay, so I'm just working that very last stitch, and I've put several rows in here, so our wrap has grown quite a bit. And what I'm going to do now is just do a simple little edge. So I just put I did 2 rows of each color, but I just did 1 row of this coral color to kind of set me up for the edge. Now you can do any color scheme or striping you like. I just thought that this would be a nice little border in which to put the edge on. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the yarn and then fasten it off. And then the next color of our stripe sequence would be gray. So let me grab the gray yarn. And we can just tie it right on, the same thing we've been doing. So just tie that yarn right on there. And the edge is very, very simple, but it'll give a nice finished look to the top of it. When it's worn, it has a nice little detail there. Okay, so insert your hook back into that stitch you just tied onto, that very last stitch of the row, bring up a loop, and now we're ready to begin the edge. Okay, so what we're going to do is chain 1 next and turn our work. Then we're going to work just a really simple, very fast little scallop into the top edge of this. So this first V that we come to of our row, we're going to work 2 half double crochets right into the center of that V. So to make a half double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the V and bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook and bring it through all 3 loops on the hook. Just like that, okay? Then we're going to work another half double crochet. So 2 half double crochets into the center of that V. And then we're going to go in the space in between the V's. So before we get to this next V, there's a little space here. We're going to work a slip stitch into that space. So insert the hook into that space, bring up a loop, then bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. Just like that. So then we're just going to repeat that all the way across. Okay, so the next V, 2 half double crochets right into the center of that V. Just like that. Then work a slip stitch into the next space, then 2 half double crochets into the center of the V, next V of the row, slip stitch into the next space in between the V's, 2 half double crochets into the next V. So we're just going to be repeating this sequence all the way across, okay? So work a slip stitch into the space between the V's, 2 half double crochets in the next V, all the way across. Okay, slip stitch, then 2 half double crochets. just like that. Let's see what we have so far. So far we just have this pretty, very simple little edge across the top, and it really kind of shows off that last full row of V-stitch that we worked. Okay, so I'm going to keep going across, and then once we get towards the end of our row, we'll rejoin and finish up our wrap. Okay, so we've worked our super easy little edge all the way across, and now we're at our last V of our row. So what we're going to do is the same thing, just work 2 half double crochets into that V, and then this turning chain space here, we're going to also work 2 half double crochets in that turning chain space. So 1, 2, but also to kind of round off this little scallop that we've created, work a slip stitch into that space as well to finish it off. It'll kind of round it off nicely. Okay, so now we're finished with our wrap, and now we can finish the ends here and add the little bead detail. Okay, so just fasten off, and we're done with the crocheting part of our wrap. Okay, so what you can do is get your tapestry needle, and any of these ends that you have, you can weave those in. But if you want to add the bead detailing, I would recommend leaving some of these corner ends. You can weave in all these ends down here, and you should have some ends, here we are, up in this corner also. So I have a couple ends. What we can do, instead of adding more yarn, we can string the beads right onto these ends, and you don't have to weave those ends in. Okay, so let's grab our beads, and then we're going to do that one little part, and then our wrap will be complete. Okay, so I went ahead and collected some beads here, and I'm just using some wood beads. You can use glass or whatever you like, or nothing at all if you choose. So I'm just going to take one of these ends. I'm going to do 2 strands of beads on my wrap. So just thread your tapestry needle with any of these ends that you have here remaining, and then just string a few beads on. You can just push them up against the wrap. Okay, so you can do a pattern, whatever you like. I'm just going to do a couple random beads here, just like that. Okay, then what you can do is just tie a nice secure knot at the bottom. Now this yarn is pretty chunky, so you're not going to need to do too crazy of a knot. I'm going to do 2 knots just to hold that on there really nicely, and then just secure. Okay, and then just give it a little test and see. I think I might add a 3rd knot just to make sure. Okay, so once you get your knots in place, then you can take your scissors and just trim. Okay, so you have 1 strand of beads there. Okay, then I have another tail here. Now this tail is a little bit farther down, so if that happens to you as well, you can just kind of weave it up into where you want it. So I'm just going to send this end right up here with my other strand. This may or may not be the case for your wrap. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and string some more beads. Actually, let's try this one. These beads have large openings. If you find that your beads, you're having trouble getting them through, especially some of these wooden beads can have kind of a rough interior. There's a tool called a bead reamer, and it's basically just a thin cylindrical shaped tool that has a rough edge, and you can kind of sort of sand out the interior to make it smoother. Okay, so I have my other strand. I'm going to add 1 more bead just so it's not completely symmetrical. Okay, so now we can go ahead and tie a knot on here, the same thing. Just add a few knots just to make it nice and secure so your beads stay on. I'm going to add a 3rd knot just to make sure. You wouldn't want to be wearing it and beads flying everywhere. Okay, So once you're finished with that part, you can trim this one as well, and your little decorative beaded edge is complete, okay? So then go ahead and weave in all of these ends that you have. If you wove your ends in as you went along, you may not have to do this. And then slide your wrap over and you can put some beads on this side as well. Okay, so I finished up the ends, got the beads on both sides, so our Tidepool wrap is complete. And it looks very pretty. It's ready to wear. It's nice and soft and cottony. It's a great accessory piece for, I would say, all 4 seasons. You could wear this anytime, really. So that is how you crochet the Tidepool wrap. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.